Hi, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to Candid Convo with Crystal. I am joined by some great guests this evening, Misha Allen, Kia Simone, and absolutely excited to have Chris Natha on. She is a life coach, certified life coach, because tonight we're going to be talking about the power of no. And it's so interesting, talking about the subject, because this kind of stemmed from a conversation I had with Kia a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about I was looking at, my next episode for my new show, and she said, no does not deserve an explanation. And I said, oh, that's it. So, and, a lot of us deal with just wanting to help everyone and wanting to do for everyone and wanting to please everyone. But when are we going to take care of ourselves? Not just our mental health, but also, look at our passion. And that's something that I've dealt with a lot, as far as just wanting to, prove myself. And, oh, I can do this. I can help you with this. I can help you build your resume. Let me motivate you to do this. And let me, help you write this. And what do you need? What do you need? But then I'm like, and I'm still in the same job that I didn't want to be in the first place. and I started really thinking about that after after we had our conversation. And then I was talking to Misha, because as you know, Misha and I do the review show, and she said that she struggles with that. And I said, oh, I have been so wanting to have Chris Natha on. So let me have my friends on. So first, I want to go to Kia, because as I said, she's the catalyst for this episode. Talk to me about the challenges that you've had in the past and what got you to that statement that it doesn't deserve an explanation.
So yes, for me, when we had that conversation offline, it was because as an adult, you're like, I'm a grown woman, but when you have to say no to someone, you start feeling like you're that kid again. You're like, I felt like I was that 12-year-old, and I'm like, I'm a grown woman. And so I finally had to go through some counseling, and my counselor was like, it's okay to say no. No doesn't warrant an explanation. So with that being said, I, start, getting my little strength and my little power back. But I did for years. I would be that person that didn't want to tell you I can't take you to the grocery store, even though I'm sick and I'm tired, or I barely got gas myself. So it was just like a lot of stuff that you were afraid to say no, because you didn't want to hurt people's feelings. You didn't want them to be thinking that you just being mean or you being selfish, or some people will tell you you're selfish or make you feel guilty. So I had to get to that point where I had to, take my wellness and, take control of my wellness, and basically tell you no, because I'm not 12. I'm grown.
So you actually just touched on something that we are going to talk about a little later, the fact that we don't want them to make us feel guilty. And I really want to talk to Chris Natha about, this gaslighting that we've been really investigating. We've been really talking about recently. But Misha, talk to me about, your struggles with that, because you did say that you had an issue, telling people no in the past.
Yeah, it's always been that way for me. And because I was always growing up, even as an adult, I was always made to feel bad for having a different opinion than others, wanting to do something different than what others wanted to do. But I really started noticing it was a problem after I had my daughter. And people want to pick up the phone, hey, meet me here in 30 minutes. No, I have a kid. I'm gonna have to get her dressed, do her hair, do all this stuff. Take her. That's not gonna be 30 minutes. No. And I'm tired. I don't feel like, no, I'm not gonna do it. But I still found myself still trying to protect their feelings, even though they were being inconsiderate and being like, oh, well, no, I still have to do this. I still have to do that. So for me, it was really after I had my daughter, it was like, okay, you have to start putting her first. You know, maybe when you were by yourself, you could people please and put other people before you, but you have a daughter now who is your priority. So you really got to nip this in the bud.
So you just said it was that catalyst. It was that other person that depended on you more than other people, depended on you more than yourself, that you cared about more than yourself. That was that catalyst that said, you know what, I've stopped this.
Mhm.
But if she wasn't there, you would have still been running yourself ragged to please
That's
everybody
very
else.
true.
You know, Chris Natha is so funny because, like, talk about this because is it a fear of rejection? Is it the fear of not being liked or disappointing people? Where does that stem from?
It's actually all of the above. It is a fear of rejection. A lot of us as women, we're people pleasers. We don't like to hurt people. Some of us, more than not, we're brought up to be agreeable, not to be difficult, to get along. Don't be so hard, right? And so we think that that means say yes to everything. You know, even me, I am a reformed people pleaser. I've been delivered, praise the Lord. But but I for a long time I said yes to things that I wanted to say no to. And then I'd go home and I'd complain and I'd, just be frustrated. And I'm thinking to myself, you're the one who agreed. Why did you agree? And it's because I thought that if I said no, that would not be accepted. People in my life would start to look at me differently. And I think a lot of other women deal with that as well.
I absolutely agree. It's almost like I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to prove that that I was the one that you can count on. I was the most dependable, and it's almost, as I just said, a part of like a codependency that I was privy to all of their issues, and then I'm taking that on my back. I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. But that's exactly what it turned out to be, that it was like a codependency type of thing. And I'm sitting there helping them do better, but they sometimes did not want that. They didn't want to do better. They just needed me to be in their negativity or in that space with them. But it was truly a fear of like disappointing others or fear of rejection. And we a lot of us suffer from that, and we're still dealing with it. And yeah, you just said, you know what, I'm grown, I don't need to do this anymore. but
Absolutely.
yeah, a lot of times it takes more than just, you know what, I'm grown, I'm wasting my gas, I'm doing this out of the kindness of my heart, I'm doing all of these things. But is anybody helping Crystal? Is anybody reaching out to Misha and saying, hey, let me help you with your daughter, let me babysit, you know, let me help you with your makeup line? Nobody's doing that, and you're still so at what point, not just your daughter, but at what point, what was your reaction, Misha, when you first had to tell somebody, you know what, no, I can't help you?
It's it's funny because I felt bad. I would get like have like kind of the self-pity that I'm a horrible friend, as if I'm always blowing them off. I'm not being a good friend to them. And then I actually had got a life coach, and we were talking about things, and she was like, well, when are you going to put yourself first? Well, if that's an inconvenience for you, why are you going there? Why are you doing this? And it put things in a different perspective. And it's like, it really helped me gain my voice, because now it was more important than ever, because I'm a mother now. I need to have my voice because I have to make those important decisions for my daughter. I need to stand up for myself in a sense and let people know, no, that's not going to fly. I lost a lot of friends because I wasn't that gullible, naive girl that would just go with the flow. And it really there was a season where I really didn't have friends. Like I was just at home every weekend by myself because nobody wanted to understand my situation.
That is actually, let's get into that, because that emotional manipulation, and that's Chris Nath to talk to us about that, because and that's exactly what I put down here. People trying to make you feel guilty on your emotions for saying no or listening to yourself, listening to what's best for you, because that emotional manipulation, and then you feel heavy, and then you start to analyze. Well, maybe I can help them. Well, maybe if I switch everything around. So I'll stop talking. Go ahead, Chris Napa.
Oh no, you're so on point with that, because you start, like you said, you start to backtrack and you start thinking, well, maybe I can rearrange all of my things so that I can be this amazing, outstanding person for you. Because for some of us, we there may be a need to be needed, and for some of us, we just don't want to hurt people's feelings. But I just want everybody to know that even if you say no, that person will be okay. That person will be okay. Sometimes you can just say, no, I'd love to, but I can't. Or you can rearrange how you help them. I can't do this right now, but on Thursday between 3 and 5, if you are free at that time, I can take you to the store. But that's all the availability I have. So now they're like, oh, wow. Right. But you start to set boundaries where it's like, this works for me. And does it work for you? But this works for me. This is when I'm free. And you have to go to that extent, because people will take as much of your time as you allow. They will take as much of your energy as you allow. And so you have to put on the brakes. I think sometimes we also expect other people to see, well, they'll notice that I'm tired. They'll notice that I've been overwhelmed this week. It is our responsibility and our job to make sure that we advocate for ourselves, even among our family, because I think that's one of the hardest groups of people to kind of say no and mean it, right? And so even our parents, right? Whatever it takes to find a way where it can make sense for everybody.
That is so funny you say that. Two things. It was a trip to me in looking at and looking in preparing for this show today. I saw so many things on, so many templates on Google about what to say if you have to tell somebody no, how delicately you have to say it, and I was like, what if you just say no, I'm not available? Like, and look at Kia's face. Go ahead, Kia. Go ahead, Kia. So speak on it, Kia.
So y'all, a lot of times people say I come off, you have to do another show about this. We was having a conversation in corporate America. When you're Black, it's called aggressive, but when you're of the other race, it's called direct. So we were having this conversation today, and I was like, okay, so that's not aggressive, but if I would have said it, it would have been aggressive. So sometimes people say that I come off aggressive, but you don't know my struggle. So my no's are just flat out no, because my story is a little like intense. I was going through a separation with, the husband. And it was a lot of stuff going on. So I mentioned I was in counseling. So you know I'm going through a lot, but selfish people don't care. So when I finally had to have that truth moment with some people, and I'm telling you, like, okay, it's only me. I have to make sure that, my lights come on every day. I have to make sure everything happens. So if I'm literally at that point where I may not, if I can't get out that bed, nothing happens over here. So I need to keep it together. So my no's are going to have to be strong, because I have to put it together. They're like, well, what, are you crazy? And that's another thing, like I said, Chris Napper, that she can address. But people so quick to call it crazy. No, I'm not crazy. I'm taking care of my well-being, my mind. And sometimes no is not a part of this. I mean, a yes is not a part of this. So people, I just had to be a little bit more direct. So that's probably why I come off a little bit harsh. Some family members don't get it, but I will tell you a no real quick and be like, no. And that's it. No explanation. No, I don't want to drive 8 hours to Tennessee. No. So again, we just have to take care of our self well-being, because again, people do not care. People are so selfish, Crystal and Misha. I'm sure people will people will ask you some stuff that they wouldn't even want to do, and be serious. Like, well, what do you mean you don't want to loan me $2,000? Because I want to be your friend. I don't want to fall out with you over, $2,000. But people be so like selfish. But no, my well-being is most important. So it's a good no for me. So if y'all want me to say no for to somebody, I'll tell like no.
We're gonna just hire Kia. So, but it's so funny, you guys just touched on that. It's so funny because someone actually just tried to convince me, and I said, and it was so, I was like, I'm exhausted, and they wanted me to drive them, and I was like, it is 1 o'clock in the morning, and after the next day, and I said, okay. I had to have a conversation with them. I said, where were you going with this? She said, I just thought I would be able to convince you. And I was like, oh, she's serious. And just like he had said. And I was like, oh no, she's serious. She thought that she was gonna, and honestly, it's almost like when that happens, it's almost like you have to dig your heels in. You have to say no at that point. Because to me, that sounds like a manipulation. That sounds like if she were to convince me and I were to say, okay, we're already in the car or something like that, then she would think that it was okay to convince me to do other things for them. And I said, wow, there are people out there that really try to guilt trip you and really try to make you feel like you are, you need to do this for them. But I do think it wraps around our self-worth because I've been in counseling, and as you guys know, I divulged a lot of things while I was on Maria S's show about mental health, and we talked about the fact that a lot of people, especially women that have gone through a trauma or something in their past when they were younger, they want to please. They become people pleasers. They become constantly wanting to prove themselves. So, Chris Natha, do you have that? Do you find that a lot in your work?
Yes, I do. I actually find that a lot of women I work with have an issue saying no. And a lot of their stress and feeling overwhelmed are about things that have nothing to do with their own lives. When they're like, my to-do list is so long. And I'm like, well, tell me about it. What's on that list? Right. And they start kind of listing everything. And I'm like, oh, is that for you? Oh, okay. And you're going there because, okay. And what is that appointment for? And I'm like, none of this has anything to do with your life. Why are you so stressed about this stuff? Oh, because I promised, or I don't want this person to feel let down, or I want to be, the one in the family to kind of come in and save this particular person. And I'm like, that's not your job. Do what you can. Love
Wow.
people the way, like, just do what you can. And
So
you know
they
what, that has to be enough. It has to be enough. I'm telling you, I can even say for me, I remember before I moved away, my parents have 2 children, me and my brother. I was the one who did a lot of things for them. And the guilt was from other family. Well, what are they going to do without you? And I'm thinking, they'll be fine. They know how to do things. It was just convenient for me to do it, right? And so guess what happened? The last 3 years I've been gone. My brother does everything. And so it gets done. And so it just wasn't getting done by anybody else because I was running in there saving the world, right? And so I backed all the way up. And guys, that's the best thing I could have done for myself. And same thing with the ladies that I get to work with. I mean, they're overwhelmed with in-laws, family, just the expectation of what other people want from them. But you have to say no. That is a full sentence. And a lot of men do not deal with this type of guilt or stress. They say no, they mean it, we accept it, and we move on, right? But with women, it's like, you're supposed to. How dare you have boundaries? How dare you say no? Listen, you got to take care of yourself. You have to. But like I said, depending the scenario, who you're talking to, you may have to rearrange some things, right? Like if you're dealing with an older parent, right, who only has you, there's still some boundaries and some things maybe you could put in place so that you can have support. But you have to make sure you are taking care of yourself, and you just can't be everywhere at every moment that everyone needs you and still function at the best version of yourself, because the thing is, I always tell people, if someone cannot get you to do something for them, they will find someone else to help them. However, your stuff will not get touched if you don't do it. So similar to what Kia was saying, who's going to handle my business, right? I'm responsible. And so as a responsible adult, I have to make sure that not only am I managing my time, but I'm managing my energy. So I believe in energy management too. So you definitely have to set those boundaries.
Actually, that's a great point. But I do want to touch on something that you said a little earlier, Chris Nathan. You said you were a reformed people pleaser. Was it you moving away? What was the catalyst? You know, Misha said it was her daughter. What was the catalyst? Because, and were they manipulating? Apparently, they were manipulating you as well, saying, well, who's going to do it if you don't? So what was that catalyst that said, you know what? I've got to let somebody else take this on. Or yeah.
Well, for me, I found my voice. And guys, it was a dangerous thing because I'm not gonna lie, I started being nice, nasty to people. I wasn't cursing them out, but man, I was sharp. I was like, no. And they were like, no. And I said, no. And I said, that's it, nothing else. That's it. And they're like, oh, what's going on? And I'm like, that doesn't work for me. What do you mean it doesn't work for you? Since when does it working for you matter, right? And so I had to start setting boundaries, things that I was responsible for. Once I moved, I passed it over to my sibling. I said, hey, you're the closest. Here's all this stuff. I still have info and access, but you're managing, right? I had to let people know. Another thing, when you move away, apparently, people think that you're just going to come back to town, to your hometown, like every other month to hang out or something. And so I started asking people, are you sponsoring this next trip of mine? Are you sponsoring? Because I'm more than open to accept, right? And so are you coming for every holiday? Are you bringing gifts for the kid? No, I don't have kids. Why am I buying presents? No, right? So I had to start letting people know that's not going to work for me. Moving away did help. But right before that, I remember just starting to set my boundaries and being okay with doing less. That was a really tough time of me learning that. And I think the biggest lesson for me was unlearning the mentality of you have to do everything because it's your acts that are going to get you accepted. And I realized that my relationship with people was it was reflective of my relationship with God. I was really busy in ministry at the time and I was doing a lot of stuff. And when I started pulling back because I started getting overwhelmed and tired, the feedback was, we don't understand. You're pulling away from your faith. And I said, wow, I'm pulling away from my faith. I just thought I would take a couple stuff off the plate. I'm just a little tired. That's all. So I was like, wow. So I have to do more for God, for him to love me more. Is that the messaging I'm getting? And so I think that was the way I was operating in my relationships. And I've come to learn now, people love me just the same. They love me just the same. So all of that was just extra work for no reason. They love me just the same. I show up when it counts. I show up, I call, and I do it from the heart. But when I can't do something, it's not World War III. Relationships are still solid because I think everyone knows my heart. And so now knowing that I'm still accepted and loved by my core circle, I just get to be myself. And so everything I do now, I do it from a really authentic, loving place, not because I feel obligation.
You just said a word. Like you just said a word. Because there was so much to unpack what you just said, because that nice, nasty, that piggybacks onto what Kia was saying. But honestly, talk about like the hurt that they gave you, or the that type of like almost gaslighting that they gave you, that guilt that they gave you when you just started to pull back and you just did this like slight, I'm just going to start pulling away. I'm just starting to do less. And to you, it was just doing less because you knew that there was a time in your change. Your life was taking a different journey. But the reactions, can you talk a lot about that, their reactions that they gave you? Because that's happened to me before. When I just said, I'm not available. Sorry, I'm not available. And the reactions, I was like, oh, okay, I'm about to lose a friend. And so I said, okay, I'm going to, that's what's going to have to happen. But it did really then I start getting in my mind, and the self-talk starts to go, and oh, well, maybe I should do this. Well, maybe I'll call this person and apologize. And you know what? Talk about that self-talk
Oh,
and
sure.
the analyzing that we do when we start to listen to our own voice. And Misha, she did a video the other day, at the end of her video, she talked about her mental health and said, you know what, I think I need to take a rest. But we have so many things compounded that we want to do everything for everybody. So sorry about that. Go ahead. Go
Oh
ahead.
no, definitely. Well, I think the conversation first started, like you said, with myself, and I started to. One of the things that I constantly try to do more and more of each and every day is become more and more self-aware. And so when I feel a certain emotion, whatever it is, I ask myself, what is this? What is this? Where is this coming from? Why are you feeling sad? Why do you feel bad about that? I'll say no, and then hours later I feel bad. And then I ask myself, why do you feel bad? And I'm really sitting there and I'm being so honest, and I'm like, the only reason I feel bad is because I think they feel bad. That's the only reason. Outside of that, it just doesn't bother me at all, right? And so once I realized that was the only reason that I was feeling guilt, I had a come to Jesus moment with myself. And I said, Chris Natha, if your relationship with anybody cannot stand because you say no, you cannot be in a relationship with this person. It's not fair. It's just not fair, and so I just had to really have a come to Jesus moment. And I'm an over communicator, so then I then had conversations with the people in my life. I had to say, this doesn't happen anymore. I'm not responsible anymore for this. This is all I can give right now. This is all I can give right now. If this changes, I'll let you know, but this is where we are. That's all I have. And guess what? People accepted it. They said, okay, listen, I'm coming to visit you twice a year. That's what I can do right now. If that changes, I'll let you know. So I don't want guilt every time I get on the phone. I don't. I'll be supportive. We'll talk all the time. I'll support in other ways, but this is all I got. My god kids spoke to their moms. Listen. They only get in this, and so just really just letting people know the truth. And most people were okay. And I think that's the thing. Like, you'll be surprised how okay people are with your boundary. Some aren't, but most people have no choice. Like, okay, well, that's what it is. Then I accept it, because you kind of set the tone. But it is hard, of course, when you're making a shift in a relationship. But I did communicate, because that's just my nature. I like to communicate. But I did communicate with those that are close to me. Of how things are for me. Even time that I block out on my calendar, it's nothing time for me. It's still my nothing time. I will not give it up. And I'm not doing anything. It's just my nothing time. I'm like, what are you doing? Or, are you off tomorrow? I'm like, me being off doesn't matter. What do you need? I'm still off, but that don't mean I'm available. So what's going on? Tell me what you need, and then we can continue this conversation. Oh, but are you off? Me being off is irrelevant. What do you need? Oh, I needed to go to, okay, now we're getting to the conversation. I'm not available tomorrow, but you're off. I'm not available. Because I already planned that I'm watching Netflix tomorrow. I'm laying on the couch tomorrow. I'm eating cookies tomorrow. Like, that's my plan. And you can't bother me between 12 and 3 because I'm busy. Now I'll call you at 4:30, but I'm busy. So, and I had to actually do that. Now, I'm not super strict on it all of the time. Life happens, but for the most part, I try to make sure I'm taking care of myself. And as an introvert, I actually do need to retreat with myself to actually get my energy back. So that is one of the reasons why I have blocks of nothing time. So now that I think people in my life understand me better, they're like, don't even ask Chris, because Chris ain't gonna budge on this. I'm like, well, if you already know, then we ain't got to talk about it. But I try to be flexible, but I try to be honest so that it's fair for me, because once I'm okay, then I can show up as just a great person for the people I love.
That was great, because that nothing time, that is huge. And a lot of people, that is what I've run into. And I've run into that with, like we talk about our mothers and who we see around us. That's what we've learned, as you said at the top of the show, that we as women, we just want to be everything to everybody, and that's what we've learned, especially as Black women. I want to go to Misha really quick because, on Kia's show last time, she said that, I'm more quiet, I'm more reserved, and because I'm that way, a lot of people think I come off as just rude or just standoffish. And, I know that she likes to sometimes have her time to herself too. Talk about that. Have you had a lot of people that uh, have given you kind of like an issue with that when you said, you know what? No, when you start to step into your own voice and step into yourself.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people didn't even have to flat out ask me. That's how much I was a people pleaser. They just had to hint, give a little passive aggressive. Well, I don't know what I'm gonna do if, well, maybe I'll have to have someone, and I was usually like, okay, what is it? Like, okay, and I stopped doing that. I stepped back from doing that. And then it was kind of, I noticed the attitude of like, she not gonna step in and do this for me. And then there was the flat out, no, I can't do that right now. Oh, you're too good. Oh, you started your business. Now you busy now. Oh, like, and or it would be like, well, why can't you? Well, where are you? Are you doing that? And I had to learn how to not respond. So a lot of times I wouldn't respond. I get texts from people. I had too much to drink. I can't, I don't have a ride home. I can't drive myself home. And I'm like, I just turn my phone off because what are you doing at this point? Who are you trying to test at this point? So yeah, for me, it was just really being comfortable in people not being okay with my no, because people were not happy about my no. People weren't happy that I was sitting back and I wasn't jumping in and doing things. So for me, I just really got confident in saying no. And I had to really notice, because if I'm always volunteering, stepping in, and I'm adding your load onto my load, now I'm irritated, now I'm frustrated, now I'm stressed out. And I noticed how that was affecting me personally. I literally almost had a breakdown because I'm like, there's all these things, and I was so overwhelmed. I'm like, wait, half of this don't even have nothing to do with you. Like, why why are you doing this? So I just really learned how to step back and be confident in my no, not care who's mad, knowing ultimately my no benefits me. My no puts me in a good mood. My no helps me spend more time with my daughter.
Misha, you just said something so interesting, and I really want to ask Kia about this too, because I know that she is now a great author, and we'll talk about her book later. But something that you just said, and I really want Chris Natha to talk on this because I have really witnessed, not even recently, this has always been the case about us making each other, Black people, making each other feel guilty for our successes. You started your business now, so you can't help me. You're rich now, or oh, look at what you're driving now. What does that have to do with you? And it's almost like we make each other feel guilty for wanting better for ourselves or better for our children. And so because Misha has a daughter and she wants to spend time with her daughter, and has something else to do that hasn't have anything to do with you, we now have to feel guilty. So Kia, I want you to touch on that because you have a lot of authors and friends that have they now that they see your success have been wanting you to help them. Go ahead.
So right now I'm in the process of reading someone's script. And I said yes because I know how the struggle is, when you're a new author. So yeah, I did say yes on this one. I did say no. So I am committed to that one because again, I know that, it's hard to get people to, read your work, and then I was like, I'll do it for free because, again, I know how the struggle is. So that one I'm willing to do or whatever. Because I, vibe, like just like you, Crystal. When you asked me to do something, I was like, Crystal, I'm working right now, but I'm about to jump on this live. I literally only have on the shirt. So, hey, that's a YouTube thing, guys. I keep it real. So, but that no, I rock with genuine people. So, Misha called me. I'm feeling Chris vibe. Hey, kid, can you jump on? Stuff like that because I know we're all in the same, like that vibe. But those users, you get that hard no. And I just want to touch on what Chris said. A lot of people are not meant to go on your journey with you. So you have to learn how to separate those people because everybody don't get a yes. The love is not always real and always not mutual. So Crystal, I love you, girl. You be calling me up, be like, girl, I got you. We gonna take a call at 2:00 in the afternoon in the middle of my work day, but we got each other. But some people are just flat out, let's just call it what it is. They're users, they're selfish. While I was writing my book, I used to call it the devil. But it was people that was allowing the devil to use them. They were trying to distract me. And I'm like, listen, I have money on the line. It's not just me in my room keep tapping. I have editors. I have other people on the payroll that I have deadlines. And it was people that would try to distract me with, can you do this? And can you do this? And can you do this? And to touch on what Chris said, someone had the nerves, I'm going to say how Kojo say, the audacity to question my Christianity. They was like, oh, and she called herself a Christian? I was like, my feelings were hurt for 2.2 seconds. I was like, because I told you can't disturb my peace. Crystal, you're a screenwriter. So you have to be in that creative mode. And for this person to keep calling and harassing me, I had to get my block game. I learned how to block that year. I didn't even know how to block. Okay, you don't know how to take my no. You guys might think I'm exaggerating. I'm a lot of times crack jokes, but I thought I was gonna have to put a restraining order on this person because this person was a family member, but they would not take no for an answer. Everything I would say no, it was a fight. Oh, I'm gonna show up at our house, ma'am. I will call the police on you. So, Crystal, yeah, it's the writing world. Some people I do say yes to because I know the struggle. But when it becomes a user thing, I ask for God for discernment. And, sometimes you just feel it like you only want to be bothered when it's convenient for you, but I can't get nothing from you. And it's not that I'm looking, but you never available. No. So that was a mouthful, but yeah. Restraining order, block game.
Go, Chris Natha. What are you gonna say? Go ahead.
Wow, Kia. Ooh. I am part of the block ministry as well, so I understand. I am in a heartbeat. I'm like block delete. But I will say this. When you genuinely have a heart to serve people, it can get real tricky. So adding to what Kia said, I absolutely love helping people. And I think a lot of people that know me know that. So that has, I think, been the source for a lot of people wanting to take advantage. So I had to identify who are the takers and who are genuine. Because some people genuinely need help. And they're like, hey, you've done this. You have somewhat of a blueprint. Can you guide me? Sure. Because I just want to help. But then there's those takers who you only hear from them when they need something. They're always asking. When they check in, they're never saying, how you doing? It's like, hey, so wait, you don't know how I'm doing. You don't know if I'm okay. All you're telling me about is your needs, right? And so we have to identify who are the takers in our lives. Another thing, even in the workplace, I'm usually a self-starter, right? And so if you show me what to do, I grasp it, I'll go for it. It was good, but it was bad because my supervisors would see that. Some would try to take advantage. Oh, let's push more work. Let's add to her load. Oh, she works fast too. Let's give her more. And at first I was like, yeah, I got this. I don't got no downtime. This is great. Then after a while it clicked, like I'm being taken advantage of, right? So I'm like, are are you dispersing this workload among my colleagues? They're like, what? I'm like, is this being spread out? They're like, oh, she's asking questions. I'm like, is that offensive? I'm like, because I got questions, right? So I had to learn, like, wait a minute, this may not be so well. So it can go wrong for if you're dealing with takers. But if you're dealing with people who genuinely are like, hey, I see your heart and I want to know if you can just guide me. Okay, no problem. But once again, it's just the boundaries. You just got to kind of check, see what people's motives are, kind of feel people out. But yeah, it's just so important to identify what's really going on here and how do I feel about it. And there's intimidation attached. Like, I'm intimidated to say no to this person, or I could be, right? What will be the consequence if I say no here? What will be the fallout over here? So you're just trying to kind of measure what could possibly be um, the result of you kind of like, making that boundary. But it's definitely okay to help people. I think all of us here on the panel kind of, we like to help people when we can, when we're led. I just want to encourage all of us to ask ourselves when we hear that someone has a need, right? Because sometimes we're listening to someone maybe pouring their heart out, and that little part of our heart that wants to help is like, I got you, right? But we have to ask ourselves, okay, yes, we want to help, but are we the best person to help? Are we the best person to help in this moment? Are we equipped to help them in the way that they need help? So we have to ask ourselves some questions, because I think sometimes we do overcommit to some things that we're like, okay, this is over my head. This is over my pay grade. I think I just signed up for a whole lot, right? And so one time I signed up, I didn't know I signed up to be somebody's therapist. But what they were going through was so huge. And I'm like, you know what? I'm glad that you trust me. I'm not the right person to help you with this. It's too big. This is just, I can't, all I can do is listen, but I would rather you, it's good to let it out, but I'd rather you speak to someone that can help you. And so let me guide you to some people that really can help you with this, because this is huge, right? And they're like, no, I only want to talk to you. I said, no, I'm not the right person. I said, but thank you for trusting me. And I hope that you trust me that I'm going to guide you to the people that can really assist you. So we gotta be honest. Can I do this? Can I really do this? How much is this going to cost me? Everything has a cost. Everything has a cost. And I think we have to assess, right? How much is this going to cost me? And am I willing to pay? Am I willing to pay? Because everything has a cost. So you just got to really assess.
That is true. Our time has a cost. Even, my time has a cost to it. And even if I'm not getting paid in, financially in money, then what is this going to cost me? What is this going to cost my time? And practicing that discernment is truly what I have to learn and say, you know what? This is not just, there's somebody else better to help them. And I had to step back. And honestly, and like I said, at my previous job, I was all in. I was helping everybody. I wanted to do everything for everybody. And then I would go home with a headache. I would go home with just like all kinds of issues. And just, oh my gosh, it just mentally, I couldn't take it anymore. And that's when I said, I'm just going to stop. And when I truly started to pull back and started to listen to myself and my body and started to just take time away and started to do less, then I started to, like you said, find your own voice. And Psychology Today, they had a study done in 2016. Wielded wisely, no is an instrument of integrity and shielded against exploitation. And Misha was just talking about that exploitation, how they just want to exploit you once you started to stand in your word, and once you start to stand in your love of yourself. And once they see you trying to build your business or stand in your passion, that's what I started to notice. I was like, oh, they're not happy about that, you know. And talk about that, Chris Natha, the fact that it has more to do with the other person that's exploiting you, that's giving you all of these issues. Go ahead.
Absolutely. And sometimes you in your mind, right, you would think, oh, this person, they're going to be happy for me, right? I'm excelling, I'm growing in this area. They're going to be excited for me. And then like you said, you hear those comments, like, oh, there goes Miss Superstar, or oh, there she go, and must be nice. And you're like, here we go. Here we
Right.
go. Like, I'm sorry I'm not playing small, and I'm sorry that my growth is making you uncomfortable because you want to be complacent. That's not my problem, right? That has nothing to do with me. I always tell family, whoever, I'm always tell people who feel that way. I said, listen, I'm not better than you. I just got focused and I committed. You can do it too. I don't got to be competition. You've made it competition in your mind. It doesn't have to be that way. We can actually both do well and support each other. Like, this doesn't have to be me versus you, and I've gotten that a lot over the last few years as I've kind of stepped out of my shell, started coaching, started writing, started, having opportunities like this one, and just being able to talk to people. I've been labeled, just that you think you know it all, or who are you to kind of share. And I said, I'm simply a woman with a story, and I'm going to share it. I'm just sharing my journey with people. That's it. People just want to know that you can relate, that you're honest, that they have a connection with you, and that they're not by themselves. And so anyone can do the same thing, right? And so it's unfortunate because a lot of people are going to be offended by people they can learn from. That could be family, that could be friends, that could be colleagues. So it's like, it's your ego. It's just not my problem. There's insecurities in you. But if you were to put your ego aside, you can learn from amazing people in your life. There was a time where I wasn't super financially savvy, right? And so I had a friend, we grew up together, lived on the same street. Our moms were friends, right? Known each other for 20 plus years. She just like, I turned around and she was just like the money guru. I'm like, what happened? This girl is killing it. Now, I could have felt some type of way, but no, I went to her and said, listen, queen, teach me your ways. Like, I want to know. Teach me your ways. And she took her time and she taught me, okay, so first step, we're going to be doing this. And, you got to be open and transparent with me. Where are we? Where do we want to go? And I'm like, okay, bet this where I am. This where I want to be. And she helped me. And I put my ego aside, right? And now we have conversations that I'm like, I never thought we'd ever be sitting down talking about estate planning and our net worth and just things that you didn't grow up talking about. But it's because I said I could learn from this amazing person versus, oh, she thinks she's this. If she thinks she's all of that, she's right. If she thinks she's the bomb, she's right. She is, right? So let me go learn from her. And so I think it's important for people on the flip side of this, just put your ego aside and learn from people. If you think somebody's really dope, learn from them. Don't sit there and just have like this weird competition in your mind, like she thinks she's this. So what? What's wrong with me thinking I am amazing? What's wrong with me thinking that I'm better than I was last year, right? What's wrong with that? You should want me to have high self-esteem, right? And so, it's just about, let's get together. Let's help each other. And let's not be so selfish to be so one-sided. Going to somebody and only thinking about our concerns, our wants, but saying, hey, I know that I need assistance here, but what's going on with you? Because this may not be convenient for you. So if you have any free time, I'd love to sit down and talk to you. Let me know your availability. I want to work around what works for you, not just demanding people's time, money, effort. Nobody owes you anything. I don't care what family we come from, how long we've lived in the neighborhood, what school we went to. Nobody owes you anything. And so you want to know something because it's that insecurity talking. You really want to be like somebody, or you want to accomplish what they're accomplishing, really. But learn from them instead of having this, letting that insecurity kind of just really get on the inside of you, and you kind of like having this like ugly attitude toward it, right? But just really being able to say, can you teach me what you know? And more likely than not, someone will. So I'll get off my soapbox, but that's all I wanted to share.
No, you said a word. I'm gonna go to Kia in a second, but first, I really want to speak on Miss Misha because that is exactly what I live by, and it's so funny because me and Misha we be on our show, and after the show, I'm like, okay, Misha, what makeup are you using? Like, and then the next day I just go out and get it. And I said, I'm not jealous. I'm gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I want, I just, I'm happy. And I'm like, okay, now let me, go and support. We got to support each other as well. And there's something, one of the reasons, and that's why I'm so glad you're on here, Chris Natha, because I saw you on Kojo's show, of course, and you said you were a life coach. And I said, okay, I'm writing that down. I got to have her on my show. Because one of the things you said on your on Instagram, you had this screenshot and it said, "It's not who you are that holds you back; it's who you think you're not." And I was like, "That's exactly what you were just saying." And a lot of times we feel like we don't deserve to say no. We don't deserve to listen to ourselves. We don't deserve to stand in our passion and do what we really want to do. That's why we're jealous of other people. And that is so true what you just said, that instead of us being jealous of each other, let's sit down and learn from each other. And let's sit down and let's ask the question, and my counselor says this to me all the time, the worst they can say is no. Go ahead, Kia, what were you gonna say?
Listen, I was just ready to pass my offering plate. I got my church fan. I was like, I see So Rich is in the comments, like, where's the offering plate? That's what I was really over here like panning for. But yes, I do totally agree. Like, shout out to Crystal, shout out to Misha, shout out to Maria. I just started really my channel, so I didn't know anything about StreamYard. When you have people that take off the middle of their day and like, hey, let's go live, let's do this. In the middle of my live, there was some echo. Crystal was like, do you know you got echo? Let's fix that. So yeah, you just have to sometimes change your circle. We get so stuck on that you gotta stay with the family, the friends that you grew up with. Everybody is not meant to go with you. Some people's minds are just stuck. They may be comfortable there. They may come later, but that's when you get into those situations where those hard no's, because they are set in that mindset. And that's when it becomes like what Chris was saying. Oh, you think you're better than me because you're doing this. No, you could be doing the same thing. How about you pull up that chair and learn or figure out what am I doing? Because again, you may be better at something. I may be like, hey, come here. Let me every time I admire Misha's makeup. So it's just one of those things that sometimes we have to change our environment. Because I've had certain people that would ask me for big lump sums of money. And I'm not going to explain to you because you don't need to know my finances. You don't know what I'm in the middle of. Just like even when I published my book, I was self-published. That means I am the money behind this. So I don't have no money for you, but I shouldn't have to explain. That's why no doesn't warrant the explanation. So sometimes you just have to change your circle, because some people that started with you may not go with you because again, they will not understand your journey. And again, that's when you get those comments, you're not a Christian. Oh, she's stuck up now. She's this and she's that. Listen, I told you guys, I am the queen of no. You're not about to stress me. And I'm a mouthful now because I want to touch on that work stuff. Them dangling them carrots. Your workplace, you have to learn how to tell them no. Because a lot of times you can't tell them what you're doing on the outside, or they try to figure it out because they'll try to keep you to 10 o'clock at night. And Chris put in a private chat, yeah, these is like supervisor, this is like manager level job work, but I got the same pay. So yeah, they do. Sometimes they'll dangle that carrot. Like I have a situation where I'm like, I didn't tell you I want to do that. I don't care what degree I have. I'm comfortable with this. I like the flexibility. But when they see you do something, I had a leader that said I was writing my book. Oh, well, she's probably not answering the phone because she's at home writing a book. Girl, I haven't even started writing part 2. So you just have to be careful who you tell your stuff to.
That's so true. Changing your circle that's what I picked up on. It sometimes, as you guys said earlier, that there's going to be times when you're going to lose some friends. And Misha said for a time it was just she was at home by herself because that's how things started to unravel. And when you started to change your friends, Misha, and you started to step into your own business and you started to step into your own like self-worth, how was that? How did that? Was it hard stepping out and stepping back into your own identity again?
No, because I've been the most content I've ever been. So it's funny because some like not having friends, like not having someone to go out with on Friday or Saturday, that used to bug me. Like I would be at home like staring at the walls like, dang, there ain't nothing to do. But now it's like I'm content in being by myself. I actually prefer it. But it's been so great because it's like having that self-worth, that self-value, knowing what you bring to the table, knowing what you stand for, knowing that your yes means yes and your no means no. It made me so content where I was like, okay, whatever. And I would pray, like, God, bring me divine friendships, people who are supposed to be around me. Like Kia mentioned, the users and not being on your journey and the same journey path as you. And it was funny because after me and Crystal started doing our review show, someone started hitting me up. Let's do our own show. Like, let's do one too. And it was like, my discernment was like my spirit was heavy and I was like I don't know about this because I'm very careful with the things that I say, and me and Crystal are on the same page. We want to uplift, inspire, help women not make the same mistakes we made. And this person, they wanted to be seen. Like I picked it up like in my spirit. It was about them. There wasn't an end goal like me and Crystal have. There was no goal. It was just, I want to be seen. I want people to hear me talk. And I was like, yeah, no, it's not going to work. And you really have to be able to discern distractions because that can take you off your journey. Because collaborating with them would possibly change the whole brand of my YouTube channel. Maybe I would have lost people because they're like, wait, I thought you were more towards this, not that. So it's just really, you really have to be content with yourself and knowing who you are and who you aren't.
That was exactly, Misha, and we're gonna wrap soon. But there are two things that I really want to unfold with that because sometimes you are on this trajectory. You're like, okay, I'm starting to step into my excellence, and I know where I want to go. But then somebody can start to veer you off, and then you start to double think and like, oh, what about this? Well, maybe I'll try it, and they start to take you off of your trajectory. And you're like, if I would have just stayed the course, stayed on this journey, then I would be in another place. And sometimes you can get there, and that's where that self-talk comes in. And you got to change that negative self-talk to positive self-talk. And I'll be honest, I was like, watching Misha's shows that she was doing, and I was like, let me just DM her, let me just see what she says. The worst she can say is no, and then she said yes, and I was like, oh great. But sometimes you have those times where you don't know how you're going to do. You don't know. So you're like, well, let me try it with this person. And then next thing you know, that's not where you want it to go. So it's almost like you have to still, your self-talk is so important. And you have to really change that negative self-talk to positive self-talk. That's really why I wanted to do this show, to uplift Black women, but everyone in our community. It's so important. Go ahead. Misha, did you want to say something? Or I'm sorry. Kia, did you want to say something?
Like, yeah, because again, we want to, like I said, stay positive and, just your mental health, because people a lot of times, like I said, this is a good content when we were talking about it offline, because it was something that, we all had in common. We were like, yeah, Crystal, this, and we were just talking, and I was like, this is a show. Because women, it's so many people that are afraid to say no, like for whatever reason. It could be a husband, it could be a mother, it could be just anyone that you just feel that love for, that obligation for, and you just need to know that it's okay to say no. And I hope somebody that's those pushy people, I hope someone out there that catches this video just on a whim and realize that they're that person, and maybe that they're, breaking someone's, spirit, or just knocking them down, and you don't even know when people are that close to the edge. That's why I said the power of no. I wanted to talk about it because, again, with my mental health, it wasn't like, people title crazy. Black folks love to say, oh, are you crazy? No, I'm not need a medication. You know, if you do, there's nothing wrong with that. But what do you mean you're on the edge? I'm letting you know that I'm this close to the edge. Leave me alone. So I want someone to hear this and know that you can push someone to the edge. Like I like pleaded with my family members, like, do you understand that you're pushing me? And they still wouldn't back down. So I want someone that's watching this that you're pushing it. It is serious when someone tells you that you need to back up and give them that space. Because, you know, like Chris said, she's an introvert. We have to come and we have to regroup. Like I do literally have to plug in after this live. I'm going to sit on my couch for about probably 30 minutes and regroup.
That is so important. So we're going to close, but Chris Natha, I really want you to end with the 5 Ds and just talk about that a little bit and how, you know, that relates to us just stepping into our own selves and just be embracing our passions. And go ahead.
Okay, sure. So the 5 Ds that I wanted to share with you guys, be aware and beware of them. The first one is discouragement. Well, let me start with doubt. So the 5 Ds, number 1 is doubt. It makes you question God's word and his goodness, right? And number 2 is discouragement. It makes you look at your problems rather than look at God. Number 3 is diversion. It makes the wrong things seem attractive, so you don't focus on the right things. And number 4 is defeat. It makes you feel like a failure, so you don't even try. And number 5 is delay. It makes you put off doing things, so it never gets done. So those are the 5 Ds for you to beware. And I also, with the power of no, if I could just add that we have to set healthy boundaries. Because we're worth it. We are significant. We are important. And when we say no to the things that we need to be saying no to, we can then say yes to the right things. We can now invite the right things into our world, our environment. So say no to the things that you really don't want to do. Everybody will be okay. And then say yes to the things that you really want to do. Give yourself a chance. Open yourself up. And live. There's life beyond everybody else's expectations. So say yes to yourself.
That's perfect. Say yes to yourself. Go ahead, Misha, give your ending, your
I just want to say I enjoyed this discussion so much. Yes, just let your no be no, let your yes be yes. It's literally in the Bible. Like, let your no be no. So I think once we are set in our no, that helps people accept our no. Because if they know we're gonna go back and forth. If they know if I ask 3 times, then she'll give in. Then you'll kind of keep going in that merry-go-round, that roller coaster. And yeah, just be content in your no. Be content in knowing that you're doing what's best for you. And that's what I have.
Here you have the ending word. Go ahead. You're muted.
I was multitasking. Sorry, I'm trying to be Crystal. I'm not good at multitasking. I was trying to put the words up on the screen. So I realized when you're not the host, you have to go to your actual YouTube. Okay. So, Chris, if you haven't met me yet, I'm real with it. No filter over here. So just continue to watch Crystal, Lynette, and Misha, and all of us. We got a lot going on. We're just trying to uplift. You'll probably see some more partnerships because I'm loving these. What Maria always say, I love the vibes right now tonight. We, kept it short and sweet. That's all I gotta say. Crystal, call me anytime. I hope to see you again, Chris Natha. Misha, I see you all the time. That's what's up. And don't forget to get my book, From Pain to Love by Kia Simone on Amazon. Show your girl some love, and not only I want you to get the book, give me a review because those numbers are important. Just like we're trying to build our audiences on YouTube. It's free. Just subscribe. That's all you have to do. Subscribe to Crystal. Chris, you got a channel, Chris Natha?
That's yes.
All these channels, it does not cost you nothing. That's that hater rate when you just can't hit the button and say subscribe. Like, we're literally, that's all I have to say. Make sure you support all of us. We all, we're just out here trying to, kill the game and provide positive information. That's it. Love you guys. Peace.
I was gonna Chris Natha TV and Chris Natha on Instagram. Go ahead and give your Instagram handle, Chris Natha.
Oh, sure. I am at Chris Natha on Instagram. I'm Chris Natha DeRozier everywhere. I'm the only one. So let's get in touch if you're looking for a life coach, someone to really help pull out all the things that God has placed on the inside of you. I'm your girl. So hit me up and let's see if we're a good fit.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Yes. Good night. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to Candy Convo with Crystal.